Welcome back, fellow animators. In this lesson, we'll continue improving our jump with some new principles and techniques, so let's just jump right into it. A body consists of a multitude of parts, so it's only natural that the whole body doesn't go from one point to another at the exact same time, but rather in a sequence of chain reactions where one part overlaps another at different time rates. In the case of our jump, we want the upper body to drag the other parts when the character is jumping up, and the shoes to drag when the character is coming down. First thing we'll do is to fix the body so it's dragging behind the shoes on the way down. So go to jump end and rotate it around -12 degrees. Let's now make the recoil 10 frames long so we can get some serious overlapping action after the character lands. Now, drag the recoil end mark to 2 seconds and 8 frames, then set a new marker at 2 seconds and 3 frames and name it recoil middle. Rotate the body around 15 degrees so it overshoots after the landing.
Something extra, something special. I do so much for you guys.
2 common techniques to make something stop in animation is overshooting and easing. Now, overshooting means that something is overshooting its intended stopping point and bounces back, whilst easing means what it says, a gradual ease in momentum until it settles at its intended stopping point. Time to adjust the head and face, so go to the head layer and show all keyframes by hitting U. Prolong the recoil part so it matches the new marks. Let's now fix the rotation of the head so it's leveled and straight except for when the character is on its way down, as it's then dragging after the body. I think we should angle the head a bit on the way up too, so go to around 1 second and 11 frames and rotate the head so it aligns with the angle of the body. Okay, time to add a bit of bounce on the face, but first, let's just rename the face null to something a bit more pleasant, like face position. Now, snap some position frames to the anticipation mark. And go to release and drag the face upwards as he's preparing the jump. Drag the face downwards at around 1 second and 11 frames as the upward force from the jump pushes his face downwards. Then go to jump end and push the face upwards as the downward force pushes the face upwards. Now make it bounce up and down during the recoil. And there. Let's now easy ease the frames. Adjust the sliders a bit here. And see what we got. Cool, but let's fix the hair a bit so we can get a better feeling for the perspective changes that takes place in the face. So unhide the sideburn layer or whatever hair layer you have on top and start adjusting the path according to the position of the face. That is looking a lot better. By the way, don't get too caught up with the hair at this stage, as we'll cover this in our next lesson on secondary motion and details. Okay, so in the beginning of this lesson, I mentioned how body parts rarely move at the same rate, yet our current animation is still very unified. Now, how do we fix the timing so it feels more like a chain of events? Easy. Let me introduce offsets.
Bonus tip. Something extra, something special. I do so much for you guys.
The easiest way to create overlapping animation is to offset keyframes between parts of your character. So let's drag this body rotation frame 2 steps to the left and the face and hair frames 1 step to the right. This way, there's a couple of frames between the recoil of the body, head and face. This will make the motion overlap more naturally and feel a lot smoother. By the way, don't be afraid to play around with the offsets, as it can often lead to unexpected and awesome results. Let's also offset the whole upper body 1 frame to the left as he's on his way down. Perfect. Let's now move on to the shoes. So, show all the shoe frames. Now, to spice things up a bit, we'll make the right leg lead with the left trailing a bit behind. So, go to 1 second and 14 frames and start moving the right shoe upwards like this. Fix the rotation. Then go back to 1 second and 10 frames and move the left shoe a bit behind like so. Now go to 1 second and 20 frames and drag the right shoe downwards as it's preparing for landing.
Bonus tip. Something extra, something special. I do so much for you guys.
Guides are a great way to let you know where a particular object is at a particular time. In the case of our shoe, we want to know where it lands. So set the indicator on the frame where the shoe has landed, then drag a guide from the rulers to the back of the shoe. Now, go back to adjusting the frames before and voila! We now know where the shoe will land, so we can adjust the position according to that. Now, to make the motion really smooth, simply utilize our new favorite trick. Yep, I am of course talking about offsets. And lo and behold, how your character becomes more alive. Let's just fine-tune stuff before we move along to the arms. This is one of those golden tricks of animation, as it works well on both follow-through actions and secondary motions, which we'll cover in our next lesson, but for now, I'll show you how this technique applies on a follow-through by simply adding some wave motion to the arms. To do this, we first need to unhide the wrist layers for both arms and show the frames for both hands. Now, go to the mid air mark and snap a keyframe in the direction value of each wrist. Then, go to the jump end mark, reverse the direction values, fix the rotation on the hands, and easy ease those frames. Boom! This will make the motion of the arms roll off, much like the motion of a wave.
Bonus tip, something extra, something special. I do so much for you guys.
Here's a simple way to nail that wave motion on a waving hand. First, bend the arm to the left when it's furthest to the left. Then bend the arm to the right when it's furthest to the right. Copy-paste the frames to the end and make them easy ease. Now, offset them half a wave to the left and boom. And here's how it looks after fine-tuning the rotation of the hand and applying the same trick to the fingers. Let's just fix the rotation on these hands. By the way, don't mind these little cuts in the arms here. I just turned on the mask on the arm limbs so I could better match the angle of the hands with the lower arms. Okay, that now looks much better, so let's just fine-tune stuff before we move on to the final part of this lesson. Our characters aren't constrained by any anatomical laws, which means we are free to exaggerate proportions of the body as we see fit. Now, why would we want to exaggerate anything at all? Well, much like an artist adds highlights to a painting, an animator exaggerates movements to accentuate key parts of the animation. Now, one huge benefit of After Effects as opposed to traditional mediums is that we can exaggerate proportions in a few simple steps. Okay, here's how it works. So select the waist layer and open up the scale values by hitting S. Then set a keyframe at the release mark and unlink the X and Y values by unticking this little box here. Now, go to somewhere between mid-air and jump end and set the Y scale to 115% so the character gets stretched on the way down. Then, go to somewhere between jump end and recoil middle and set the Y scale to 80% so the character gets squeezed from the impact. Let's now make this scale overshoot and recoil. So go to somewhere between recoil middle and recoil end and set the Y scale to 103%. Then set a keyframe at the recoil end and make it exactly 100% as the character finally settles. Last but certainly not least, we'll easy ease the frames. Now, we just need to fine-tune stuff, so have fun with all your offsets until next lesson where we'll fix our secondary motions and details.